Welcome to the Redbeard Embodiment Podcast. I am your host, Alex Greene, and I'm on a mission to bring the power of embodiment to people all around the world. In this podcast, we explore how embodiment practices, trauma healing, and knowledge about the human nervous system can help us find our ground, discover new sources of meaning, and create connection in an ever-changing world. The deepest change is embodied change. All right. Good morning, everybody. I'm having the pleasure to sit down today with Niraj Naik from, he's in Ibiza, Spain, and I'm in Boulder, Colorado, as always. And Niraj is the founder of SOMA Breath, which is an international breathwork facilitation school and community. And he has a fascinating background, having formerly been a community pharmacist and then having sort of his own powerful story of getting interested in alternative health, partly for his own healing as well as with others. And so he, under the banner of the Renegade Pharmacist, he started providing important health information around looking at health from a holistic perspective. And I've had the fortune of connecting with Niraj through my Norwegian colleague, Siv Jøssang Shields, and she's a SOMA Breath certified facilitator, and she connected me to SOMA Breath because Siv and I are working together on a project involving neurogenic tremoring, and we've been in conversations with Niraj about how we might bring some of that information in combination with breathwork. So it's part of an ongoing dialogue. We'll talk a little bit about that in the episode as well. But Niraj, big welcome to the show and big pleasure having you here.
Great to be here.
Great. Awesome. Yeah. So I always like to start with kind of backstory a little bit, and sort of what led you into the work you're doing in the world today and your expertise in breath and holistic health in general. And take as much time as you need. We like hearing the backstory that led you into this work.
Yeah, sure. So many years ago, I was a community pharmacist in the UK. And that's where I got like a taste of my own medicine. I saw so many people going away with shopping bags full of drugs every month. Didn't seem to be getting much better. And this is when I just like got very disillusioned with the whole profession. I didn't feel like I was doing anyone any real good. And when your soul is not in what you want to do, it will try and escape. So I tried many different ways to quit my job, but also to kind of down my sorrows every weekend. And I got really into a crazy lifestyle. And in the end, I had a bit of a nervous breakdown. And it was there where I actually went to a Tony Robbins event. Back then, like I had no idea who he was. And a friend of mine took me kicking and screaming and bought me a ticket. Said, you have to go to this. And so I kind of let my disbelief down and went to it. And it was amazing. And the last day was when he talked about diet, nutrition, and just lifestyle interventions, disease and health.
Yeah.
It was the first time I ever heard anyone talk about anything like this before, because you don't get taught anything in pharmacy school, anything holistic. So I was like, right, I've got a pharmacy full of sick patients. So let's put Tony Robbins to the test, see if he's full of shit or not. So I started to write healthy shopping lists because you don't have much time. Okay. And I learned, like at the Tony Robbins event, the whole power of NLP to motivate people into action, right? So I started to create my own way of motivating patients to go out and buy things that I recommended on a shopping list and made it as simple, stupid, and easy to follow as possible.
Right.
And I got really amazing results. I was like blown away. I actually had doctors calling me up. I remember like the first few phone calls, I was like pretty scared. Like I'm doing something wrong, but they were like really encouraging me. They're like, no, this is working really well. Keep going. Yeah. So in the end, I actually got fired from my first job.
Okay.
For mismanaging the pharmacy.
Right.
But then I got promoted to head office of one of the biggest supermarket chains in the UK.
Okay.
And here I basically came up with this healthy shopping list service for their website.
Right.
This was the early days of the internet, but
Yeah.
it would have been like a home shopping delivery service of, healthy foods to diabetic patients, heart disease patients, blood pressure patients, so on. It was revolutionary. It was genius.
Yeah.
But 6 months into that idea got shelved.
Okay.
And the middle management, like, if you want to know how the world really works, it's the middle management who control everything. It's not the people right at the top, and it's not the people at the bottom. It's the ones in the middle who do all the bureaucracy, the red tape, the checking data, numbers, facts, figures. And I remember, like, very clearly this one moment where I was getting in a lot of like pushbacks from the middle management. And I had like teacher's pet treatment from the director because he really loved my idea. The director really wanted me to do this thing. He unfortunately left. But before he left, I remember going to knock on his head office door to ask him, it's like the student going to the headmaster, right? So I went there to say, look, I'm having loads of challenges. And he goes, welcome to my life. He says, like, like, to succeed in the corporate world, you have to be able to deal with that. You have to be able to handle that. And those ideas are cut through this, like, bunch of idiots, most of them. They're the ones that will succeed. And this is what I have to deal with every day.
Okay.
So he gave me like a bit of insight of how corporates work. Yeah. And that makes me realize that that's exactly how the world works. Right? It's not this small percentage of people at the top, and it's not this massive percentage of people at the bottom. It's this red tape
middle
pen
tier
pushers in the middle. They're the real deep state who control everything. Anyway, so I pushed back. Profit went over, benevolence. And I ended up like getting very sick, very disillusioned. And I kind of lost my faith in humanity, to be honest. I was like, there's no hope. If this is how it is, there's no hope for humanity, because good ideas can never get pushed forward.
And this was around like 2010 or something, right?
Yeah.
Ish, in that era. Yeah.
So this is how misinformation is broadcasted to the world by all the people that we're supposed to trust, right? So corporations, they're like literally making billions of dollars. They have so much power. They could do so much good with it, but they don't.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I kind of, at that point, went into a bit of a depression, and I got hit with a chronic autoimmune disease at the same time, the same moment, called ulcerative colitis.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, it can't get much worse than this. And I was like, now shitting blood 40 times a day. I lost 3 stone, which is like 30% of my body weight.
Yeah.
And I remember going to the consultant doctor and said, look, does stress have an impact? I'm very stressed out. She goes, no, it's nothing to do with stress. Does diet have an impact? Because I had so much success getting people off certain foods. And does that? She goes, no evidence of that. Yep. Basically, shut up, take the pills. That's all that there's evidence for. Or have your colon removed. Or you can try and be a guinea pig for this drug that hasn't been tested before. I can put you on the list.
Okay.
So I was like, oh my God, this is it.
So
I thought that was it. I was gonna die. Like I was ready to just waste away anyway. I lost all my hope.
Yeah.
And then there was this moment where I had a real judgment day like experience, like crazy flashes of lights and wild, lucid, vivid dreams. And I don't know what happened, but anyway, they say God stands for gift of desperation. This was really my most desperate moment.
Yeah. And
I wasn't quite consciously aware of what was going on, but then the next day and the next following days, some miracles started happening. And a dear friend of our family, Swami Ambakananda, she's a yoga teacher in the UK. She said to me, you got a gift. If you can change your perception of this disease into more of a opportunity, a gift,
Mm-hmm.
with your tenacity,
Mm-hmm.
right, and your insights and your
Yeah.
intelligence, you could really be a role model, inspire a lot of people if you were to heal from this,
I see.
rather than make it into like some kind of burden and
Yeah.
be in a victim mode.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, this actually makes sense. She said, look, I can teach you some fundamentals from your own culture, yoga, pranayama, Ayurveda,
Yep.
and you can give it a go
Yeah.
and see if it helps. So I'm from an Indian background, right? So
Yeah.
you would think that this would just be an automatic part of my life, but it's
Right.
not.
Right.
Most
Okay.
of these immigrants who come to the West,
Yeah.
they lose their culture. They don't think that their Indian culture is cool and
Okay.
Western culture is cooler.
Yep.
So we end up taking on a lot of these habits,
Yep.
especially when it comes to science and how we perceive the way the body works
Yep.
and health and disease. So I was indoctrinated by, that
Western paradigm.
scientific
Yeah.
reductionist system.
Yeah.
And so I had to let go of my disbelief and put some
Mm.
trust into what
Yep.
she was saying because there wasn't much evidence.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, let's try this out. So I tried some very simple breathing techniques
Mm.
and boom, within a few days, I got such relief. Actually, it was instant. The moment I started to do this breathing technique, felt like stress was just evaporating off my body, right?
Okay.
And I started to feel actually really, really kind of higher vibe than I was because I was in a lot of pain.
Mm.
So I was like, okay, this simple extended exhalation rhythmic breathing techniques are pretty simple and seem
Sure.
to work.
Yeah.
Then I learned about holding your breath in
Yep.
various ways.
Okay.
So I started to use this. It's called kumbhaka in pranayama.
Okay.
And then I started to create my own sequences. So I went down the rabbit hole of these traditional techniques. I went down the Ayurvedic rabbit
Yeah.
hole.
Yeah.
And I learned so much about bio-individuality and how we're all unique and individual. And
Okay.
that there's no one size fits all, and that I was eating completely the wrong food.
Yeah.
Also colitis. And even in the Ayurvedic system, it says that the worst thing for my energy type when it goes
Yeah.
off balance is to eat
Yeah.
lots of raw foods and fruits and uncooked
Yeah.
foods
Yeah.
because it makes the gas and bloating and cramping so much worse.
Yeah.
All this wisdom's already in the book. So I changed my diet to actually what's not a holy diet in more dogmatic Hindu
Yeah.
culture, which is a beef-based diet, right? Because
Okay.
beef
Yeah.
cows are considered holy in India.
Yeah.
But if you look back in history, actually, it's all dogmatic because all the Brahmin priests and the kings were all eating meat. The peasants start to have less meat because Buddhism started to creep in.
Yeah.
And they had this no harm to animals culture, but the priests
Yeah.
and all that, the kings were all
We're eating meat.
eating all different types of meats, right?
Gotcha.
And the thing is, if you look Indian population, the further up north you go, up north is where all the royalty live, right?
Okay. Okay.
And then you go up to the Himalayas. That's where a lot of the secret yogic practices
Spirituality and up in the mountains.
were kind of hidden almost in secret.
Yeah.
And all the kings, the royal class, are up north, and down south is where the more peasant farming class was, right?
Okay.
That's changed and evolved, but you'll see the difference between northern Indians are much bigger, stronger, more like warriors, and the southern Indians are more like very meditative and skinny and scrawny, kind of much shorter. So there's definitely like something happened with the diet and culture over years. A lot of dogmatic Hindu practices got embedded, ingrained in
Can I
culture.
interrupt for a second? Because I never heard that sort of history. But what's funny about it is the namesake, Redbeard is the name of Redbeard Somatic Therapy is the name of my company, and it's a reference to Bodhidharma, who's was the founding patriarch of Zen Buddhism, which is kind of my own background in Zen. But what I'm interested in your story is he was from northern India, and it was said to have a red beard, blue eyes, and a red beard, or something. And then he traveled over the mountains and landed in China, which was sort of the beginning of sort of seeding Buddhist teachings into China. And he was also supposedly the founder of Shaolin Monastery and Kung Fu and all of this and that. It's kind of like a legendary historical figure, but there's good history behind him as well. But anyways, I'm just sort of thinking about how, he was in that kind of a little bit more of that warrior mindset as he sort of headed over the mountains. So yeah, it's super interesting to hear that.
Yeah. It's definitely something interesting going on there. So I had to change my dogmatic beliefs. So I come from a Hindu culture. So eating beef is a big no-no. But I got cured by all beef diet, colostrum, which is the first milk the cow produces. I did everything that is thousands of years ago traditionally would have been medicine that Ayurvedic doctors would have used, but has now been suppressed and dogmatized over time, right? So I went back to very ancient principles, right, of healing. And, so the combination of like beef, bone broth, colostrum, getting rid of lots of plants and leafy vegetables and raw foods, completely eliminating that, and focusing a lot on the breathing techniques for rewiring, repowering the unconscious mind, which goes kind of haywire when you're under a lot of stress. And autoimmune diseases, you could say, are triggered by what we call Udin moments. So Udin stands for, it's a checklist. U stands for unexpected. So suddenly out of the blue, and you can have many Udin moments in your life, but so they all layer on top of each other. But the U stands for unexpected, where it comes out of the blue. So I had no idea, not even a slight inclination that they're going to shelve my idea, and I was going to have to go back to be a pharmacist. So that was a big shock, and I've had several of those over my life. Dramatic, so it's like very dramatic. Well, think about it. I'm like the face of health of a big corporation, and a huge project is involving millions of dollars of goods. Boom. So it's very dramatic, a lot of emotions associated. And then the I stands for isolating, so it's just you. Right? It just only you. It feels like it's just you involved.
It's all on you.
And it was all just, it was me. I was a single person. And then the N stands for no strategies. There's no way to deal with it, to resolve it. There was nothing I could do to resolve it or change it. It's like boom. So I definitely tick that box. But if I look back in my life, since childhood, since the first 7 years of my life, where most of this programming happens beyond our control because we're children and infants and babies, I had many layers of these over my life. So autoimmune disease for me was a ticking time bomb. I just needed one more Udin moment to tip me over the edge, which is what happened.
Gotcha.
So what I had to do was use these meditation techniques, which if you look at hypnotherapy and a lot of this like reprogramming techniques, a lot of it comes from these ancient yogic practices of yoga nidra, guided meditation, using imagery, mantra, which is just simply affirmations, So a lot of what we know now in more what we use now,
more Western models, hypnotherapy, NLP, has roots in Indian.
It all comes from tantric yoga, which is all kind of been hidden in the Himalaya, the true versions of it. So I went on this crazy rabbit hole of learning as much as I could about my culture, all these practices, to learn as much science as I could. When I got better, within a few months, I was back to full health. I made like a pact to God. I was like, okay, I'm going to dedicate my entire life to spreading this as far as I can, right? We need an alternative to the pharmaceutical industry. And I need to undogmatize my own culture to make it more legit, scientific, and based on the truth, rather than what priests have kind of covered up with many layers of stuff. So in that crazy journey, I met many people, like amazing people. So I learned a lot about hypnotic mind programming through Marissa Peer, who's a top famous hypnotherapist. One of my best friends, John Vincent. He trained with Richard Bandler. So I really learned a lot of hypnotic programming techniques, hypnosis and NLP from that. But then I wanted to learn a lot about the science of yoga. And I met this guy called Prakash Malsh, who invited me to be his student. He lives in the Himalayas. He's a yogi doctor. He has a medical center in the Himalayas where he uses yogic techniques for patients. And he wrote a book called The Medical Understanding of Yoga. And I read his research papers as part of my research. And I was so blown away by it. I was like, this is the first guy I've met who seems to have actually translated the Sanskrit text in something meaningful that we can apply to our modern healthcare system.
Right.
So
Wow.
I trained with him, and then we decided we're going to make a curriculum together.
Yeah.
And so SOMA Breath is based a lot on his research and my own personal research of what I've done with all my other people I met. I met Wim Hof, the Iceman. Became his right-hand man for a bit, and we were doing a lot of cool stuff together. I made all the music to the Wim Hof method. I went really back into making music because that was my first love. So an Udin moment I had back in before I even became a pharmacist was I used to run massive raves for 3 years. My biggest passion was running these big raves, 2,000 people. I used to DJ. I thought that's all I was going to do. Yeah. Right. I didn't ever intention of being a pharmacist. Right. Then one thing led to another. A lot of things fell up. There was a shooting that happened at the club that I was doing my events in. Not at my event, but another event. Yeah. And I lost everything overnight. And then I had to go and become a pharmacist. So that was so traumatic. Right. So traumatic for me. But I was trying to hold it in and be strong about it. Yeah. But obviously it impacted me. And that many layers of this affected me throughout my life since that point. And it was going back to music, which was a big part of the healing. Because for 7 years, I gave up then really making music, my passion. And it was then becoming a pharmacist and then getting sick and then learning that I can use music as part of the healing journey. It changed everything. Because I got a lot of benefits from listening to meditative music online, on YouTube, on the internet. I found a lot of brainwave entrainment music at the time. Yeah. And like music for hypnotherapy. Yep. And I was like, actually, you know what? I'm going to try and make my own music like this because I wasn't drawn to the kind of music that was being made. It's too many panpipes and dodgy flutes and stuff. So I was like, no, I'm going to do my own cooler versions for myself. So I was like, actually, this is actually quite good. So let me put this up on YouTube. So I started to put it up on YouTube and I got a following. I was like, wow, this is it. I'm going to do this. So then I created a music therapy business where I would put the breathing to the music because music has a natural rhythm to it. Right. And you can time the breath to the music. Right. And you can create very powerful, slow, diaphragmatic breathing sessions through it. Right. And when you breathe out twice the length of time as you breathe in, double exhale, it's called slow rechaka. And this is an amazing technique for switching off stress response, turning on the healing state, and also oxygenating the body, right? Getting the oxygen to your body tissue cells. Right. So I created my own system based on this, and it took off. I call it trip normal meditation. There's a trippy version of binaural beats, right? Trip normal. Yeah. It creates tryptamines in the brain. So I started to do that, and that became my first business. And I got out of my shitty existence in England and lived in my dream location in Thailand for many years, where I got really deep into the Tantra back into, because I really want to learn Tantra because Tantric yoga is where I derived everything from. Yeah. And where I lived in Koh Phangan, it was considered like Tantra town. Okay. So here, I went really deep in the whole Tantra community, and I learned a lot about using orgasmic energy, life force energy, cultivating this for a higher power. Yeah. And then I'll tell you a crazy story. I got taken to do this 7 days, 7 nights in complete darkness retreat. Right. And this was the first time I ever had a relapse of the colitis. So I was about to go into the dark. Yeah. And suddenly I started shitting myself again with blood. So I'm like, what's going on? So I tell the teacher, I don't think I'm allowed to do this. So she goes, this is a ghost. It's my friend Shashi Saluna, one of the best tantrists in the world. She says, you have a ghost apparition of this disease so you can cure it karmically once and for all in the dark.
Got it.
She said it so straight without any hesitation.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I believe you. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. But you're shitting blood like 30 times a day and you're in the dark and you have to find your way around with ropes, right? And little markings on the floor. And if you get lost, it's completely pitch black. Even just slightly coming off the rope, you're lost.
Yep.
And you're in darkness and you're
really by alone or with other participants?
No, it was like a group. It was a group, group-led thing.
Yep.
But by this functional doctor who's famous for gut healing, they say that the soul's finding the dark. She kept finding me and taking me to the toilet. She just intuitively knew where the toilet was. When you're under a lot of fear, right, it's hard to think clearly because it shuts off your prefrontal lobes.
Cortex, your
frontal cortex. So you can't think at all. You're in panic mode. So she kept leading me to the toilet because she intuitively, she's calm. She knew where to take me. Yeah. So that saved my life. It's funny in the dark. But anyway, what happened was this is where just before that I had learned TRE, like a basic version of the TRE practices.
Yep. And the neurogenic tremoring of
what are you talking about? Neurogenic tremoring. So I started to. Well, what happens is as your DMT starts to get produced, the melatonin, big doses of it, your
after
life
a
starts
few days of the darkness or whatever, right?
You literally go mad, you go insane, and your life starts to unfold as visions in front of you. All the Udin moments you've ever had, you start to see them as visions. Okay, and this is true. It's your chance to karmically cure these moments, to transform them, to heal them, right? Yeah. So now she's teaching me this Tibetan tantric practices, which there are similarities to neurogenic tremoring. Okay. And then I'd already learned some of this. So I start to do very heavy doses of tantric yoga, breathwork, and TRE, tremoring.
All in the darkness.
All in the dark, pitch black, screaming, crazy, releases, like going wild in the dark. Yeah. And within 7 days, come out and I'm a whole new human being. And from that point onwards, I have been in the most divine flow ever. Like anything I want to manifest starts to manifest. It's incredible. It's incredible. The flow I've been on, we do have some challenges, but everything has been in miraculous,
totally different
divine flow
situation.
Compared to even before the darkness retreat, I was like up and down a bit because I was figuring things out. After the darkness retreat, everything clicked. Yeah. And that's when I got really into the breath work and stepping up as a facilitator myself. I suddenly got this power to lead. And I started to do sessions. Shashi really gave me a lot of confidence. So I started to test them out in Koh Phangan. And that evolved into doing festivals. I ran like about 6 different big conscious music festivals in Koh Phangan. So instead of the raves, turn into breath raves.
I love that. And just interrupting for a moment, when Steve first turned me on to SOMA Breath, and then I kind of looked on the website and I followed the social media accounts and whatnot, and I saw that actually I think it was at the was it at the Mind Valley conference and Steve went and she presented on neurogenic tremoring, and you were there and doing and so I saw that you were doing basically like kind of these breathwork raves where there's music and you're DJing, but you're providing the breathwork guidance, and hundreds, maybe thousands of people are doing it. I thought, wow, what a cool integration of sort of rave dance music culture, but with a breathwork practice. Just seemed just totally innovative to me, and it's such a cool piece.
Because breathwork is a pharmacy. So think about it. There's a drug for almost everything, right? But there's also a breath technique for almost anything you think of, from constipation to sleep to blood pressure to chronic pain, tension, right? But there's also
anxiety,
the recreational,
whatever it is. Yeah.
right? There's a recreational, there's cocaine,
Yeah.
there's cannabis, there's psilocybin, there's LSD, right?
Yeah.
Ayahuasca. So there are breathing techniques that can model the effects. Maybe not as intense as that, but it can get you there.
Right.
MDMA, for example. So oxytocin and dopamine, serotonin are like the chemicals of MDMA. But with certain rhythmic breathing techniques and music, we can elicit, and especially with the guided meditations I do, in a rave-like experience, I can bring people into a peak ecstasy type feeling just through my words and the dance,
the music and the breath
somatic
work.
breathing techniques.
Yeah.
So I create my own recreational experiences that get you high off your own supply. So people can have a more sustainable,
much cheaper,
memorable night.
Right.
Yeah. Instead of getting wasted and all that.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. Very cool.
So so that eventually led to, what we have today. Now we have a big school, SOMA Breath, with over 2,500 instructors now. We've got Cambridge University have done a study on my protocol because I created a 21-day awakening protocol, which is really awakens you to your true power, your true potential in various ways, from spiritually, emotionally, physically. And Cambridge University have studied this protocol, and now they've just told me that they've got preclinical approval for a trial on PTSD using the same protocol, which is massive.
Is this through the same? Is this the Cambridge study or a different group?
Yeah, the next level of that. So they're doing. I've already done one study that's coming out soon in the next month. But now this is the next stage.
Great.
Clinical study.
Right.
University of California are doing a study too. They're about to do a study. So that's happening as well. So science is coming. This is great. I mean, they're just catching up on what we already know. But and then we've now got an app coming out, and the app will have some amazing different breathing techniques for different situations. I call it Breath Pharma. Right, so a pharmacy of different techniques. There'll be a collaboration with you as well on there. So the whole point is is to get people back in touch with the body. Because in Tantra yoga, the philosophy is it's foolish to control the mind through the mind. It's very difficult to do it. It's much easier to control the mind through the body. The soma. Soma means body in Greek, right? Because the body is the breath and the body are combined. Because
control the mind through the physiology
So with breath control, conscious breath control, we can control various functions of the autonomic nervous system. So when we get symptoms of disease, right, we can use breathing techniques to adjust and restore balance. So then that way we don't let symptoms go on for too long. We don't suppress them with drugs. We actually get to the root cause. We fix the root cause. We make adjustments in lifestyle. We let go of tension. We fix chronic pain, the source of it, which is often these Udin moments, traumas from the past. We use breath techniques to do that, plus what I call neurosomatic programming, which is the use of language, words, symbols, colors, and the breath to use the body to control the mind and clear the operating system of thought viruses that hold us back. So this is what we've turned into a system where our transformational artists, the SOMA Breath, are trained to deliver.
Well, so part of what I think is so cool about SOMA Breath is it's such a broad yet deep integration, because if I understand correctly, it's sort of like, you've brought breathwork applications from so many different things, whether it's health, whether it's about relaxation, whether it's about supporting meditation or spirituality, that there's sort of the broad range, because, breathwork in general within, the somatic, industry now is, becoming more popular, but there's different flavors of it. Some people are using breath work to manage their anxiety, so they're doing box breathing or something like that. Other people are using something like holotropic breath work, Stanislav Grof's work for in place of a psychedelic, rather than use LSD or psilocybin. They're going through a transformational experience. Other people are, so there's kind of like these different uses of breath work. And what I'm hearing from you, please correct me if I'm wrong, is that that's all encompassed that the SOMA Breath program sort of framework kind of contains all of that. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, but with the root from all the pranayama techniques.
Yeah.
So there are all these modern styles that we know about, rebirthing, holotropic, Buteyko, all of this stuff. Yeah. There are pranayama techniques that are the same thing, right? Yep. So I've just gone to the roots and scientifically, laid them out and given them context. But certain techniques are powered by the music. The music really enhances some of these practices, especially the more meditative breath techniques, right? Which restore balance, harmony, give you a positive stress response, all that stuff. The music really makes it more fun and engaging and therapeutic. So, because music also has many different benefits.
Very cool.
So this is now what we deliver, and so that's why music is a core part of what we do.
Totally. And I've done a few of Sieve's, and Sieve is a somewhat new SOMA Breath practitioner, but she shared with me, I've done some of her programs, and something that's cool about SOMA Breath is once you become a facilitator, everybody kind of records their own voice in terms of the guided breath work. And so she shared some of her ones with me, and it was just amazing, the sort of the integration of the rhythm, the selection of music, her own voice, just even the sort of prosodic quality. She's got a great voice, and it's amazing how those things can work together.
Yes.
Yeah. Super
cool. Really bringing in the world's most transformational practices into one modality.
Super cool. Can you tell us just a little bit, because you mentioned there's a phase 2 of the Cambridge study, but like what did they study in the first one? Because they studied SOMA Breath methods specifically, and I read somewhere kind of some of what they found, and it was pretty awesome. But just share a little bit of what that first study indicated.
Yeah, so it's called the phenomenological underpinnings of breathwork. So the idea is more of a study to see what's going on in the brain.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Under breathwork practices, and then compare it to ketamine, MDMA, psilocybin, and so on. So Jeff Tarrant is a neuroscientist who did a first study with a small group on our protocol, and he found in 22 minutes that we create the same changes in the brain as a dose of psilocybin or MDMA used to treat severe depression. So it was very interesting.
Yeah. Huh? To treat depression?
Yeah. Severe depression. Yeah. I see. So he was like, this is really interesting. And if this was expanded upon with our longer sessions that we have in our 21 days, for example, it could be a very interesting future study. So then that actually inspired Cambridge University scientists, and they reached out to me, and then they did that.
I see.
Expanded study on what he started.
Yeah.
So what we're going to show is how bliss is created by the breath and how it's associated to certain breathing patterns, right? But then how that also compares to the kind of levels of bliss, oneness, connection created by psychedelics.
Yeah.
So it's not going to prove clinically that it fixes depression or anything like that. That's not the point of the study. That's phase 2. Yeah. That's the next study, right? Yeah. Which is to prove the power for treating something like PTSD, which is a huge problem right now. The biggest Udin moment ever just happened 4 years ago. Yeah. And it's happening even more now because of the wars.
Yeah.
The world just went through on a collective scale trauma that we've never seen before, right? Yeah. Unexpected. Well, we had no idea that was going to come. So I did, because I'm a renegade pharmacist, so I've seen them doing this shit for years.
Mm.
But yeah, boom, unexpected for most people. Dramatic, extremely dramatic. 2 weeks to flatten the curve, turned into 2 years, right? With death counts posted every single day, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, people were really, really scared, right?
Yeah.
Isolating for most people. They have no idea what was going on, and they were all isolated in their house, social distancing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, come on. They wanted to traumatize the whole planet. Think about what they did, the strategy.
Right.
And then no strategy. No one knew what to trust.
Right.
There was such a polarity going on. So there has been mass global trauma on a scale inflicted by people we're supposed to trust that we've never seen before. And meanwhile, they were all partying and having secret parties and their own little groups, while everyone else was literally shitting themselves in their homes. Yeah. And so there's a lot of work that needs to be done now to fix all of this.
Yeah.
I wish I didn't have such a big opportunity now with SOMA Breath.
Right.
You know what I mean? But we do.
Right.
So that's why I'm really looking, that's why I'm so glad we're joining forces.
Yeah.
And I want to reach out to more people.
Absolutely.
To bring this stuff, because it can fix these problems. And what will happen as a result is, because I believe that whenever anything turns really dark, there's an equal and opposite light inevitably that's going to, come.
Arise. Yeah.
So this darkness is going to wake people up to what it really means to be naturally high, healthy, happy on a level that's never been experienced on a global scale before. Yeah. And people are going to go back to what's natural to them. What nature intended us to have to make us healthy and happy, right?
Yeah.
And when we go to the light, it's going to be incredible.
Totally. Well, let's preview a little bit about kind of what, because you had your connection to neurogenic tremoring. You learned TRE. That was sort of a part of one of the practices that you used in the darkness meditation thing that was so transformational for you. Let's just preview a little bit about because the exploration that Steve and I are working with you on is to find out, are there ways to take the neurogenic tremoring process and kind of some of the trauma awareness around it and integrate that with breath work as a supportive piece. Do you want to share a little bit about kind of how you see that fitting together, and so people can stay tuned to how that's working?
Yeah, I like protocols, prescriptions. If there's one thing pharmacy is good at, is giving an instruction, right? Do this many times a day and get this result, right? Yeah. So that's like TRE in itself. It's its own thing, right? Which releases a lot of unresolved emotion, right? Right. Right. So breathwork techniques can do that too. So what you do is you create a protocol where you take people for a course of a breathwork practice. Yeah. Right. But included will be in the same session or set time.
In connection. Yeah.
TRE techniques too. So it'll be part of a sequence, right?
Yep.
But a lot of the work is done from identifying your Yuden moments. Right. If you can identify these Yuden moments in your life, it's easier to clear them. You can resolve them. So once you know this through the awareness, you can go back into your own life and see all the Yuden moments you've had. And you can because all of this works by reframing perception, changing the somatic intelligence, how we store emotion and the perception we have of that past event. Right. So every feeling has a meaning. So by understanding your feelings, when you go back in time to a memory that triggers, that maybe you go back and relive an Udin moment in your mind, you make it into like a movie, it's going to create a somatic reaction. You're going to feel that pain somewhere. And if you can know where it is in your body, you can release it, right? Right. Yeah. And you can reformat it. You can change the meaning behind that story. Yeah. Because Udin moments are just there for a reason, to keep you status quo. Like to stop you from going into any other dangerous situations. But really is designed to keep you at one level to stay safe. because anything new, especially if you've been traumatized a lot, is deemed unsafe. So the idea is to change your perception filters of how you see reality, so you become more open to new things, so you can start taking action. You don't get so triggered by things that remind you of the past, right? And TRE is part of that protocol, I think, of fixing the trapped emotions in the autonomic nervous system.
Very cool. Well, we're super excited for the collaboration. A note to Redbeard listeners. So within the next month or two, Siv is going to start doing some SOMA Breath facilitation through our Redbeard platform. She's going to be on the podcast in a couple of weeks, talking about that. And we're already experimenting. I run this group on Fridays. It's a free class. I started at the very beginning of the pandemic, and it was every day, and it was initially just pure TRE, just TRE every day, just as an opportunity online to go through the shaking process. But what I've evolved towards this year is, now I'm calling it the Neurogenic Tremoring Lab, and the word lab is specific because it's meant to be experimental. It's a free class. It's Fridays, 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. But the experimental part is that we're working with different methods in combination with neurogenic tremoring. So, for example, I have a background with Feldenkrais somatic movement work. We've been bringing that with neurogenic tremoring. And the next phase we're going to do with Siv is we're going to start bringing in SOMA Breath. And we're going to use that Friday class as a bit of a laboratory for breath practices and tremoring, just to really refine our understanding of how those things can support one another. So it's super alive for me as a project right now.
Amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
What are the chances, man?
Yeah.
What are the chances that in the Darkness retreat, I'd be teaming up with something that I was doing in there religiously?
Very cool. Well, Niraj, I really appreciate taking time.
That was in 2016, I think.
Okay. All right.
Long time ago.
So what? So 8 years ago? Yes. Is that 7, 8 years ago? Yeah. Very cool. Well, I really appreciate taking the time this morning and just hearing your whole story. I mean, I've read some of it, but kind of, you filled in a lot of details today that really just kind of show where this work is coming from, the depth of it. And I encourage anybody to check out the SOMA Breath website. There's a lot of free resources that Niraj has sort of generously put out there, and it's an amazing platform.
That's so cool, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, awesome.
And so there's a saying, right, which is that knowledge moves forward, or science moves forward, right? Not by repeating known facts. No, not by repeating false dogmas, but by refuting known facts. Okay. I think that's it. I might have completely butchered that saying, but the idea is that, we have to question what we've been taught in the past.
Right.
And not just don't accept everything I'm even saying as gospel truth. We must take personal responsibility, right, for our own knowledge, and to not trust everything that you read on the newspapers that comes out of the government's mouth or scientists' lips. We need to be really curious about going deeper. People don't go deep enough these days. They read headlines and that's it, and make opinions based on that. And we need to go deeper. We need to assess everything that's out there, that everyone's telling us, all the opinions, and start to listen to our own gut. Because a lot of the times our gut is telling us one thing, and our head, which is being programmed by society, is telling us something else. And then we get confused. And there's these confusions over time that causes a lot of chronic stress in people. Right. So it all takes personal responsibility, because, anything that happened to you in the past that holds you back now is not your fault. It's mostly not your fault. Right. But it is your responsibility to get rid of those things
that
hold you back.
It's wonderful. Great. Well, I appreciate the words of wisdom and the powerful shares. So Niraj, thank you so much.
Cool.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Redbeard Embodiment Podcast. To learn more, visit us at redbeardsomatictherapy.com or send me an email at alex@redbeardsomatictherapy.com. If today's conversation resonated with you, help spread the word by subscribing and sharing with others. Hope to see you next time.